that they needed, and so they made my job easy. And to have them as associates of mine was just wonderful. Ted we came to Union the first, that we arrived at the same year, and he helped so much with all the musicals all through, well, we did 3 at the junior high before I moved to the high school. And gosh, but in that building, we had in the cafeteria on this little stage, and we did some productions, and some of you kids were in those. So he's been, and he always worked on the musicals every year, volunteered, as well as Janet Schaefer. I don't know if she stayed or not, but she was here earlier. Janet used to always come, and the other time. And then Ed Tackett, I mean, he had a vision. And I still announce that, you know, sometimes we butted heads many times, and we didn't always agree on how we were going to get there, but he had a vision to have the best curriculum and the best facilities that we could possibly afford. And if you look around, and you know, I don't know why they call it don't call it the Ed Tackett Performing Arts Center, because it was his creation. It really should have been. And of course, he's retiring this year, and it's Union's loss, I guarantee you. But like our piano lab that we started, Dr. Burton wanted technology, and you know, just said we want to incorporate technology into the curriculum. So he had the idea, and I started, you know, researching the software. And before long, we had 21 pianos and computers and software that was just to die for. And what some of you don't know is that Sandy Garrett, who was state superintendent at that point, I would get calls all the time from her office saying, I have school that wants to start a piano lab, theory lab, and they wanted to see one that's put together. And I told them the best one we've got in the state is up at Union. And so I have these teams come through all the time to go through that lab. I understand we've lost it, partially because they didn't replace with bond issues. I think you were fighting to try to get pianos replaced and things, and it just didn't happen. And that's a bad loss, because that was a real showcase. And even Dr. Reed, who was is a professor at TU, and they're in charge of a lot of the music department over there, taught theory at TU. And she called me one day, and she said, what is going on with your theory program at Union? She said, every time I get a music student from Union, I have to put them in their second year of theory, because they've already done everything in the first year of theory. And she said, could I come out and observe what you're doing? So she did. She came out and observed and they didn't even have a lab at that point at TU. They do now, and guess who it was modeled after? And she was so impressed that she volunteered 2 days a week to come and mentor the kids that were falling behind. And this is professor of theory at the University of Tulsa, and I think she's in charge of a lot of the music department now. And so that's how impressive that some of the programs that we started here at this high school. So there's a long line of great stuff at this school. You guys are very fortunate. I've had a lot of kids come back and say, it was a step down to go to college after leaving Union High School. And, you know, it's like the facilities and everything. It was like we just moved down a notch. And that's true. And then look at this wonderful facility you have now. So you've had a great education. You've had some great teachers and some great leaders. And I'm just so privileged to have been a part of that and a part of your lives. And I hope we continue seeing each other. And, you know, I'm always available to go to lunch, you know, anytime, just give me a call. And, you know, and I keep up with you on Facebook. I love I've got one whole folder that's just my students, that I've put all of you in one folder. And if I want to click on my kids, I just click and see what's going on in your lives, you know, and see where you are and how the world's treating you. So I thank you. This is honored. I was so humbled when Richard and Chris met with me at Starbucks and said, this is what we want to do. And I thought, well, my goodness. I mean, people live a whole lifetime and don't get to have the thank yous come back that I've been getting all year long, and the messages on Facebook that you all have sent me, they're wonderful. And I've been greatly moved. I'm sorry that I was sick. You know, you wait to this wonderful moment, and then you just and you're just dragging yourself up here. But I do appreciate the people I've worked with. I love it that Scott's carrying on. I got to tell a story about Scott. You know, we called ourselves Union Avenue Singers, and we made up that name. And so what we did was we made a T-shirt, that sweatshirt, if you all were around, remember, and it was like a street sign, and it said Union Avenue South, Union Avenue Singers, and 5109, which was my room number, but it was just like a street sign, like South Union over here, in the west side of town. So one morning I was walking up to my front door, and now his dad was president of the school board at that time. And I walked up, and there was a Union Avenue street sign that had been stolen.
Commandeered.
And was sitting at my front door to my room.
Borrowed.
Yes, excuse me, borrowed. And I found out who was behind it all. They went driving way out South Union somewhere and took this little street sign. Tell his students that, haha. No. But we kept it for a long time back in the little storeroom up there. He kept it hidden back in the corner. So I've always had that to hold over his head, but now the story's out. in his wilder days. But we have lots of stories like that, because you were not malicious kids, just fun kids. And I'll tell you one thing. On those trips that we took, I never had one kid get in trouble. I never had one kid that had to come back home and meet with the principals because they were in trouble. And I never had to discipline a single kid on any of my trips. And that's because they were the greatest kids in the state.